Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Five Strikes. And I'm name is Sydney Hunt. However, you're watching this evening, thank you so much for joining me on Thursday. I almost said Saturday, but Thursday, March 17th, 2022, rather. St. Patrick's Day. Happy St. Patrick's Day to one and all. Of course, here in the United States, St. Patrick's Day. Hope you wore your green. Hope you have your corned beef and cabbage. I didn't have corned beef and cabbage personally, but yeah, I hope you had a good St. Patrick's Day. Starting a little late, had a few minor technical difficulties that we're just trying to iron out, but we are live here on this Thursday night. And of course, as always, the chat is open on YouTube, Facebook, and on Twitter if you want to join us, join the conversation here on Five Stripes tonight. A little bit of music broke just before we came on the air on this Thursday night. Miles Robinson has been named to the United States men's national team roster for the final 3 World Cup qualifying matches coming up. The United States, of course, are in Mexico City next week to take on Mexico El Tri next Thursday. From there, they travel to Orlando to take on Panama. And from there, they take on Costa Rica. And hopefully by the time they get to Costa Rica, they will have qualified for the World Cup, but we'll see what happens. But Miles Robinson, again, named to the World Cup qualifying roster. One situation to note, I mentioned in Dirty South Soccer a few minutes ago, is a situation involving Serginho Dest. Dest, of course, came off injured in Barcelona's Europa League match against Galatasaray earlier today. So unfortunately, it looks like he will be out of commission for the United States come next week. United States, of course, will be needing a replacement. It appears that, well, not doesn't appear that, but there has been some chatter that possibly Brooks Leonard could be called to fill Dest's spot on the roster. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what Greg Berhalter decides over the next couple of days. But let's talk about Atlanta United as they take on CF Montreal on Saturday at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Atlanta United 2-1-0 on the season. They have won both their matches at home against first Sporting Kansas City, again, that dramatic win against Charlotte FC on Sunday. But again, they take on CF Montreal on Saturday in Mercedes-Benz Stadium. My guest tonight is Samuel Savi. He is a co-host of the Balls Round podcast, which is dedicated to everything CFM. Sam, good evening. Bonjour. How are you?
I'm good, Sydney. Thank you for having me. I love these collabs between podcasts and the city, so I'm always really hyped to go on. And just mea culpa for everyone listening. Sydney was good. I had the technical difficulties, so I'm sorry for
Yeah.
the problems, man.
No, it's all good. It's all good. I'm glad we got that all straightened out. But yeah, let's talk about the situation with CF Montreal. I will say I've never been to Montreal. I want to get up there. I mean, how long have you lived up there, and what's one thing that you would recommend to anyone who would want to visit the city?
Mm.
Maybe later on this year when Atlanta United get up there to play them.
Well, obviously, nightlife in Montreal is pretty good. So if you guys like to go out, Montreal is the place, man. But yeah, I've lived in Montreal basically all my life now. I live in the countryside, but mostly all of my time has been in Montreal. So yeah, it's a beautiful city. I love it, and I get why a lot of European players like to come to Montreal and choose this place as their home because it's a wonderful city. And we've had a lot of Americans podcasters come on our show, and those who came to Montreal always have some good things to say. So I guess people like our city, so that's good. Man.
Excellent. Like I said, I've never been up there. I know maybe a few people watching today may have been up there, but again, Atlanta United play them in Montreal. Montreal next month, I believe.
Yeah.
Or so, hey, maybe that might be a little plane trip up there to the Great White North to see CF Montreal and Atlanta United. Things haven't been going well for Montreal thus far this
No,
season.
man.
Especially in league play, they've dropped all 3 of their league matches. They, of course, weren't able to turn the deficit against Cruz Azul and CONCACAF Champions League. They will not be advancing to the semifinals. I will say not as excruciating as was the case with the New England Revolution last night. I don't know if you watched the match, but simply put, I mean, let's talk about Montreal right now. What's kind of the situation with them? What's going on?
Well, I think to understand what's happening this year, you have to look at what happened last year because it's just the continuity of what started last year with Thierry Henry that left the club right before the season, and longtime assistant coach Wilfred Nancy took over, and you know so you can expect that when a career assistant coach who started his coaching career in the minor soccer in Quebec, and he's a fantastic story for soccer in Quebec. He was coaching grassroots, grew one step of the ladder at a time, and eventually got a head coach job in Montreal, which is fantastic, but expectations were very, very low last year, and you could see the MLS experts were all predicted that we mostly were predicting that we would get that good old wooden spoon. So then Nasi came with some very, very interesting ideas, and we kind of fell in love with his very candid and cool personality and his style
Right.
of play. And as time went on, I think what kind of started to derail a bit the team was that his system, even though had a lot of success at the start of the year, became very predictable for opposition managers, and he didn't really twitch it yet. So it's been almost a year and 7 games that we've been playing exactly the same way, at some little tweaks here and there, but
Right.
the idea and the concept are all the same. So I think that's not helping, and obviously the injuries. Key players are out injured right now. Mason Toy, who was on pace to be one of the best scorers in the league last year, is out injured. Ahmed Hamdi, a very young talented midfielder, which we brought from Egypt, is injured. So,
Mhm.
and Sam Piet, who's always been a very important part of our team, even though he lost some playing time with Wilfred Nasi,
Right.
is missing. So I think these two things together have made it where we are right now. So it's not a dramatic situation, but it's definitely cause for concern, in my opinion.
Yeah. So you mentioned it's not really a dramatic situation right now, but um, how much time do you think that Wilfred Nancy gets to really turn things around? I'm sure he's had a lot of conversations with the front office, really about the state of the team, really trying to improve the team's fortunes. But how much more rope does he get? He's been around the club a long time, but what are
Yeah.
your thoughts on that?
I think he's good. I don't think there's any worries for him right now because in Montreal we've been begging like on our knees for stability at head coach. So even though now it's not perfect, we had so many coaches in our short MLS time. Yeah, I think we've been the team, if you like all things considered, and if you put like an equal time frame, that have fired the most managers. So us fans, we you can see people are starting to get mad a bit at the tactics. They're not big fans of Wilfred Nassi's tactics. There are, but people are starting to grow against it slowly. But still, I think that he's the man. I think he's gonna be here for a while. And even if our season continues in that direction, I would be very, very, very surprised at a change, because Montreal has, and Thierry Henry started that kind of line of thought, is that they've taken a lot of Philadelphia's playbook, like
Mhm.
give time to the coach Jim Curtin, try to brew players up from the academy. So and anyways, if even if they hadn't try to go in that direction, I think it's the least that we could give Wilfred Nancy sometimes, because he was put in a very, very difficult situation last year. And don't forget, we were one of the only teams that had to spend half the year away last year, so that didn't help
Mm,
him at all. So I think all
yeah.
things considered, it's not a perfect move. But I'm sure that Wilfred Nancy, given some time, and he can get this ship back straight, but I think it has to pass by some tactical changes eventually.
Yeah, yeah. I want to kind of get into a little bit of the roster. One of the players that really stands out, of course, for the CF Montreal is Jordy Mihailovic, who has kind of been on that periphery for the U.S. men's national team, Ramel Kyoto, another player that Atlanta United fans will be keeping an eye on. Who are some of the other players? Who are some of the other players that Atlanta United fans need to be kind of keying in on Saturday?
For one, he doesn't participate much to the offenses, but transition play is very, very potent on when he has the ball. Is Victor Wanyama? He's a joy to watch
Yeah.
play. I mean, and you can see why he had success in Europe, and he's even more impressive when you watch him play in person. So if you guys go to the Benz, just keep an eye on number 2 for us. He's a really, really impressive player to
He had
watch.
Yeah, he had a little bit of a tiff with Joseph Martinez
Yeah.
last year, so
Yeah, I was
I
there.
almost
That
forgot.
was in
Yeah,
Montreal, man.
yeah,
But yeah,
mm,
yeah, I remember that game. It was 9 against 10 at the end of the game. It was, yeah,
insane.
it wasn't a good one, but it was a cool game. It was a good game to watch, though. But I think they're good now. There's no animosity. They kind of shook the hand and went on. But so yeah, Wanyama and if you like to watch defenders play, I think Kamal Miller is a very, very good
Mm,
defender, and people
yeah.
should keep an eye on him because he's been growing in a very impressive way. Was surplus in Orlando and came kind of cheap to Montreal and has just blossomed since he's been here. So left center back Kamal Miller. He's playing injured right now too, and he's
Mm.
fantastic. Yesterday at the Olympic Stadium in the Champions League, probably his best game in career. So if he continues in that direction against you guys, you'll see a very good defender on hand. Yeah, but that's the problem. We don't have to say much about offensive weapons because we don't have much. So defensive midfielders, center backs, we have very good ones, but when you go up front, it's a bit more difficult.
Yeah, and you mentioned Champions League. We of course want to mention that he played yesterday. Montreal played yesterday, so they'll be coming into Atlanta on short rest.
Yeah.
And a couple of questions that have come up in the chat. Elliot asking specifically, do you think Atlanta will have that advantage over a tired Montreal team? And I'll kind of tag off of that as saying, how does Montreal kind of counteract that? They'll be coming in, like I said, short rest. So how they resolve that?
Yeah, that's the problem.
Mm,
And at the ball is round, we always do our way too early predictions for this season, and I had kind of predicted that a little run in Champions League would handicap us at the start of the year, simply
mm,
because we don't have a lot of depth. So that's always been the problem, right? So I think what you can expect going into Atlanta is not a lot of changes. There's obviously going to be changes. Ismail Kone, who played in the Champions League, might be on the bench, and Rida Zouir, a young prospect from the academy, will probably get the start.
mm,
But I expect Mihalovic to play. I expect Wanyama to play. I expect maybe in defense you'll see some shuffling because we're a bit deeper in defense. We have a young defender who's on loan from Bologna, Gabriele Corbo, who's solid. I think he's MLS caliber. You have Joel Waterman, who we got from the CPL 2 years ago and really
mm.
grew, MLS caliber, definitely in my opinion. So you might see twitches in defense, but going up the field, I think you're gonna see pretty much the same players out there. Yeah. So yes, definitely Atlanta will have an advantage over a tired Montreal, and just to put it a bit worse for us, if we can, we played on that very difficult pitch in Montreal, which is basically a carpet on like a hard floor. So the players are always complaining. It's tough to play there. It's very, very
Yeah.
easy to get injured on it. So it's,
Yeah.
it's a tough situation, but after the international break, so it's gonna be the last like of the stretch before we go into the break.
Yeah, it's really an older stadium too. The
Yeah,
Olympic Stadium up there.
yeah. It was built for the '76 Olympics in Montreal,
Yeah.
and it almost got no renovation. So it's like exactly like it was built in '76. Well, it was built a bit before, but yeah, in the '70s. So
Yeah, I hear like a lot of complaints from
mm,
Montreal residents, Montreal natives about Olympic Stadium, kind of its visual
yeah,
appeal, I guess, or lack thereof, on Montreal skyline. So appreciate the insight. Something
yeah.
for Well, I was gonna say something for Atlanta fans to watch out for, but I'll probably be at Statsubuto. But um, yeah, well, you mentioned the player defender on loan for Bologna. Another player on loan for Bologna, goalkeeper Sebastian Breza. Um, what is your insight on him? He played a few matches last year, but it looks like he's the number one keeper from my view this season. What kind of things does he bring to the table as far as an organization standpoint, as a play style standpoint for Montreal?
Um, he's a very, very good shot stopper. Very
Mhm.
good. I think he's the best shot stopper we have in the team. But then sometimes his decision making, people will bring it into question. So sometimes some floating balls in the box, which at his frame 6'5", you could easily get it to there and help the defenders. He'll stay on his line.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, there's some questions about his decision making, like shot stopping wise, in a sense, and some criticism too on his play ball at feet. So because Wilfred Nancy is very very into building out from the back, so Sebastian Breza has to use his feet a lot in that system, and he sometimes, his passing is a bit off, his precision a bit off too.
Mhm.
But he's working on it. He's still very young, right? So it's the first time he's playing in a top division. He
Mhm.
was a Serie C goalkeeper in Italy and never
Right.
played a game for Bologna. When he did go on loan, it was in Serie C. So um, I think he's growing. I think he's getting better by the day. But he had a very very good season last year, so people had high hopes, and now I think
Right.
you're seeing a young player that's growing, that's developing, and but I think there's a lot of potential, a lot of talent in him. He's a very good shot stopper. So point blank shot, he gets these shots, these saves, and but it's everything, it's the meat around the ball, that the bone that sometimes is a bit lacking.
Mhm.
But he's trending in the right direction, in my opinion.
Yeah. Just turned 24, looks like. So actually, yeah, just turned 24. So
Yeah, but
yeah, I mean,
that's a problem with us in Montreal, is that our goalies are getting in these ages like 23, 24, but have
mhm,
so little professional experience.
yeah.
Same thing with James Pantemis. He's 24 too, and he's supposed to be our next number one goalie, but
Mhm.
barely had any professional experience. So that's why you see them do like younger goalie
Yeah.
mistakes at that age. So yeah, it's a
Yeah.
shame, man.
It kind of compares in comparison to a situation like the Chicago Fire. We have Gaga Salina,
Oh
who
yeah.
really on the national team radar for the United States, 17 to 18 or something like believe he's still a kid. So it's amazing to think about him
Yeah,
being that age. But then when you look at a guy like Breza, and certainly when you look at a guy like Brad Guzan, who's 38, that kind of span. In fact, I'm looking forward to later in the season. Um, when Chicago take on Atlanta, you're gonna have Gaga Solanina on the one end
yeah.
and Brad Guzan on the other end.
Yeah,
It's
man.
like 21, 22 years
It's
age
amazing.
difference between the
Oh, yeah.
two, so it
So
kinda
that's
puts it on top of
that
my list.
position you can play a bit longer, right? You can have
Yeah,
longer careers. So if
for
you
sure.
keep care of your body like Guzan has, you can still have success at that age. So it's great, man.
Yeah,
So that's why I'm not too worried for Montreal. It's just in the immediate that it's a bit difficult, but going forward, I think we're good in goal. But for now, it's a bit difficult, right?
yeah. I think Guzan's like a few months older than me. I'll be turning
Really?
30 in May, and he's like in immensely better shape than I am. So, yeah.
Well, in better shape than me too, man.
Yeah. um, we talked about um the kind of the fatigue factor a little bit early on, but Bruno brought up a question in the YouTube chat, and thank you, Bruno, for your question. Um, what do you
Hmm?
think is the edge that Montreal has over Atlanta United? Like I said, they're coming on a short rest, but is there anything that they can exploit in Atlanta United's 11 that could possibly see them get either their first point or their first win of the season?
I don't think there's anything in. No, man. What I would answer to that question, because it's not. I don't think that with the situation, put the teams on paper and look. look at the styles and put the fatigue into play. I think what could play in Montreal's favor is that against Cruz Azul yesterday in Montreal, there was a lot of adversity. It was a tough physical, emotional game. And you kind of saw the players for the first time this year really rally and dig extremely deep and go in the trenches. And it was a bit of a dirty game, a bit of there was a lot of emotions led into that. And if you can carry that emotion and that that mentality into the game against Atlanta and say, you know what, we just lay it out like we did against Cruz Azul, and we have 2 weeks to relax afterwards. It could help. It could make it. There's a lot of things you can do when the adrenaline is pumping and when the emotions are going your way. But I mean, I think you guys have a very very strong team, right? And it's always been extremely difficult for us to go to Mercedes-Benz Stadium, and I expect the
Yeah.
same type of game. So, but there's I saw something different yesterday than I've seen all year. So if they can bring this on the plane to Atlanta, maybe we'll have a result, man.
Yeah, Atlanta have dominated Montreal since they've entered the league. Since they have entered the league, um, especially at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, as you mentioned, and just kind of to that point. And of course, Atlanta played Charlotte, another team that were looking for their first win. Granted, they're expansion side, but they were looking for their first win in a hostile environment. Atlanta United, from what I saw, just weren't able to take advantage of his chances. They just dominated possession in the first half. I believe it was 70-30 or something like that. And I think it was Jake Mulroney saying something along these lines, but he's saying, look, we can't expect to come in and think that, we'll uh, dominate other teams or run them off the pitch. I mean, you've been very candid about Montreal's struggles early on this season, but I think Atlanta United have to be in that right mindset, have to be in
Yeah.
that frame of mind to say, hey, this is a Montreal team that are going to be looking for a result on the road in the place where they haven't traditionally done well. So to me, I think that's the biggest fear I have for Atlanta
Mhm.
United is A, not being able to finish their chances to the final attacking third, and B, just how they come out of the locker room at the start of the match because they can't coast through any match. I mean, this is a parity league.
Oh
Anyone can
man.
be anyone can be anyone at any given day. So I
Yeah.
think Atlanta United have to be careful. I mean, they can't take for granted that, like I said, Montreal haven't won a match or haven't gained a point this season.
No, 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 that for sure, no. And the proof is that even in our better seasons, we would always lose to Cincinnati, always. And yeah, it's just a mentality thing. So you know, for sure, if Atlanta come out there with like a bit too confident and cocky,
Mhm.
we'll have our chances. One
Yeah.
thing that I have to give is that we usually have our chances. Okay, there was maybe the only game we didn't have a single chance is away to Cruz Azul in the first leg of the Champions League quarterfinal. We
Mhm.
just got smacked. It's okay, but we usually get our chances. And if Kai Kamara and Romel Kyoto, you give them too many chances, they're gonna score. So um, you know, I still fancy that we can get a draw, right? But
Mhm.
it's gonna take a lot from us. I think it's gonna take a much bigger effort from us than from you guys, just because of all the context and like you say, it's a very parity league with 0-3 to start the
Mhm.
year, and we've lost against only Eastern Conference teams, so the pressure is there, man. They need to get at least a draw, because if we start the season 0-4, man, this is gonna be one hell of a uphill battle, man. Even though it's a long season, it's gonna be tough. So I expect a very defiant Montreal team. I expect them to really give it their all, but yeah, it's
Mhm.
been a tough start of the season. Playing every 3-4 days with all that
Yeah.
traveling to Mexico, to the States, back to Canada,
Mhm.
playing in like altitude in Mexico, 30
Yep.
degrees, and coming back to Montreal, it's slowing, freezing out there. It's all things that come into into play, man. So it's gonna be tough, but yeah, I expect a good performance by us, but I would say I'd be happy with a point, really.
Yeah. What is your kind of scoreline prediction then based on that?
I'm always a bit optimistic, so I'll say a 1-1 draw.
Okay.
But I think if you ask the majority of Montreal fans, they'll say I'm slightly optimistic for that game.
Okay. Okay. I'll say I'm gonna say 2-0, 3-0 Atlanta United. I think
Yeah, it
they
makes
really
more
get things
sense, right?
clicking. I think they really get things clicking in the attack. I think Joseph Martinez scores.
Oh
I
yeah,
think Thiago Almada, our new signing, he scores as well. And then maybe a Marcelino Moreno goal to cap it off. But I think it'll be 3-0 draw for or 3-0 win for Atlanta United on Saturday. That's just my kind of my scoreline prediction. We'll see what happens. Um, I want to talk to you kind of off script about the Canadian men's national team. And of
sure.
course, we see a number of players on Montreal's roster. I mentioned Sam Piet, Alistair Johnson, players like that are having key contributors to the national team. Of course, Alfonso Davies appears to be healthy and it looks like he'll be with the team for these final three qualifying matches. From what I've seen against Costa Rica, Jamaica, and Panama. Costa Rica and Panama, of course, at home or on the road. Canada or Jamaica at home. I didn't see where that would be, but I know
Yeah,
that'll
it's
be
in
in Canada,
Toronto. It's in
in
Toronto.
Toronto.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, First off, congratulations because it's been forever, of course, since Canada have made the World Cup. And of course, they'll be in it 2026 out of that qualifier. But
Yeah, man.
congratulations. But
Thanks, man.
as a Canadian soccer fan, what's kind of your feeling going into not just these final three qualifiers, but the World Cup coming up?
Oh man, if you're a Canadian soccer fan, you have to be, loving every second of it
Yeah.
because it's been such a long road for us. And I remember I was playing like grassroots soccer. I played it, high level in Quebec for what it
Yeah.
is, and you didn't have these models of these guys, really performing at that. Well, you did, but every time they would go to national team, it was very difficult. So it would kind of, in my opinion, it would kind of slow down the progression of soccer in Canada. And now it's just exploding.
Mhm.
Everyone is playing soccer. Everyone wants to play. Everyone wants to know what's happening. At work, everyone's asking me about what's up with the national team. Did
Yeah.
you watch the game? Of course, I watched the
Yeah.
game. I've been waiting for this for so
Yeah.
long. So it's great. It's great. And we booked our tickets from Montreal to Toronto to go see the game
Nice.
against Jamaica because we hope it's gonna be the celebration party. If they
Yeah.
get 1 point in Costa Rica, we clinch our spot in Qatar. So
Mm.
what we hope for is that the game against Jamaica is just a party that we qualified for the World Cup. So it's great. It's an amazing time to follow soccer in Canada.
Yeah, and it's great because you have that younger generation. I mentioned Davies, of course, but um, Jonathan David, another young player, 21, 22. And then so the other players, Teja Buchanan, um, Steven Stacchio, Jonathan Sorio, players
Yeah,
like
man.
that, who are really building that younger generation. I mean, you mentioned, you see people around town playing soccer. I mean, you got the Canadians in town, of course, which is the big draw. The lacrosse is, of course, a big draw in Canada as well. But I mean, it's amazing to see. I have to tip my hat to Canada, for this for this run they've been on under John Herdman, and
Yeah.
I'm interested to see what they do later this year.
But you know what? For the interest in Canada, it was just a question of time. If you look at Montreal, I think every single country in the world is represented in Montreal. There's
Mhm.
so many cultures, so many people that love football, but there weren't a lot of people would often look at European soccer because MLS is not good enough for them or stuff. But now with the national team, everyone kind of rallies towards it and say, this is high quality, very very good football. And you can't complain against the quality of the team when you've got Jonathan David, when you got Alfonso Davies and that team, Stephen Estacchio. You didn't say that man's name is an absolute legend. That Tiba Hutchinson is still playing
Yeah.
strong
Oh
at his
yeah.
age, man. So
38.
yeah, 38 or
Yeah.
39. It's incredible.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
so yeah, it's it's a good time, and but John Herman is for a lot of it. And we were very skeptical in Canada, to be honest, when he was named the men national team coach, because he was coaching the women team before.
Hmm.
He did okay. He did he did well with with the
Yeah.
women national team, but still people were skeptical. What was he gonna do once he got that job? And I have to say he's done very well. People were questioning his tactical knowledge, how good he would fare against the international managers around the world. But
Mhm.
I think he's done very well so far, and he has such a great bubbly personality. Everyone wants
Yeah.
to play for him. He's rallied this team, and I
Yeah.
have to say, for once, for Canada, we're no longer Mr. Nice Guy team. We kind of went into the CONCACAF mode with with Herdman, and playing the dirty tricks a bit and all the time wasting, and so we never did that before. So we kind
Yeah.
of we're at our place, man. We're doing good.
Yeah, and the women, of course, under Beth Priestman, of course, won the gold at the Olympics. They're on a really good run as well. So just great to see both men and the women soccer team in Canada have phenomenal success.
Yeah, and Priestman is from John Herdman's coaching tree, if we want.
Mhm.
So it's it's the same mentality on both sides, the same ideas, the same thinking, and it's no surprise that both are having success because they're very very good managers, both of them. So yeah,
Yeah, yeah, can't wait to see what Canada men do this summer or this winter in Qatar. Yeah, I'm so used to World Cup being in summer.
yeah,
Obviously, it won't be in summer because Qatar is going to be like 110 degrees. But interesting to see what Canada do, and hopefully the United States are there to join them later
I
this
hope you
year.
are, man. I
Yeah,
really hope you are. I know there's a rivalry. I know there's all of that, but I hope you guys qualify. And
yeah, cautiously optimistic, but and of course, we've been burned before as United States soccer fans, so yeah, we'll see what happens. There's a few tough matches coming up. No gimmies. So
no, but
hopefully,
I think I wouldn't be too worried. I know it's easy to say from the outside perspective, but I wouldn't be too
yeah,
worried. I think you guys have this, but
yeah. Hope you're right. I hope
I
you're
hope
right.
so too, man.
Sam, thanks for coming on, man. And how can we find you on social media?
Listen, I have my own Twitter page, but I never tweet, so I have like 70 followers. If you want to follow our work, it's at TBIR Montreal. It's a once a week podcast. We usually record on Sunday night or Mondays, and we cover Montreal, the men and the women national team, and
Okay.
man, we just love the game, and we try to bring people to love it as much as we do. So that's the only mission we gave ourselves. So if you guys want to join the party, we'll be really happy. So yeah, at TBIR Montreal.
Awesome. Well, Sam, gotta say merci beaucoup to you. Thank you for coming on, and
Merci.
we'll see you next time, hopefully.
Thanks, Sid, man. It was a pleasure, man. Take care.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks to Sam Savi for coming on Five Stripes Tonight, talking CF Montreal soccer. As always, you can follow me at SHWrites on Twitter, SHWRITES. Of course, for the latest Atlanta United news, dirtysouthsoccer.com, SB Nation's home for all things Atlanta United. My name is Sydney Hunt. Thanks again for joining me this evening. Enjoy the match on Saturday. We won't be on next Thursday due to World Cup qualifying. We hope to see you in 2 weeks' time right here on Five Strikes Tonight. So long, everyone.